Hi, this is Lars with Road Bike Rider, and today I'm going to review the Avadar C3 City e-bike. Now, Avadar was kind enough to send me this bike at their expense, and I've been able to ride it around and test it, and I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about this bike if you're considering buying it, so that you can sort of hear about it from a person's perspective that's actually used it and assembled it and all that stuff. So the bike comes in a big box and it's probably 90% assembled. When you get it, the handlebars are off. So there's 4 bolts right here that hold the handlebars in place. So all these wires are connected. And so they're still connected to the brakes and the shifters and all that, but it's sort of here so it fit in the box better. And then, so it's all straight and it's a smaller box. So you'll get that handlebar and you'll set it up against here, and then you'll put that bolt in place and you put that together. The front wheel is not on it, so you'll have to put the front wheel on, and also the fender is not installed yet, and so you'll have to install the fender. So all in all, it took me about half an hour-ish. That's including taking it out of the bike or the box, and there's like padding all over this thing because they really have it well packed so that nothing happens to it. So by the time you get all the padding off of it and line up all your parts and figure out where everything is, and it has a really nice owner's manual that walks you right through it. And they additionally have a really good YouTube video that takes you through step by step. If you're not the kind of person that likes to read directions, or you find it confusing because it doesn't give you enough information just looking at one picture, you can watch the YouTube video and see them actually do it, and that's very helpful. To be honest, I built it with, I think I referred to the instructions maybe once or twice. It's pretty simple, but I've built bikes in the past. Not like from scratch with nothing attached, but like where you take them apart and put them back together. So what's cool about this bike? Now, maybe you're familiar with Avadar. They had an Indiegogo, is how they got started. But the cool thing about this brand is that many of these brands of lower cost e-bikes are going to have a hub motor, which is the motor is back here. It's part of the back wheel. But Avadar has a more expensive mid-drive motor. Now, a mid-drive motor has several cool features. They're a little bit lighter. They power the cranks, so when you're pedaling, they're more efficient because it's not just pedaling the wheel. And also they feel a little smoother when you're using a hub motor e-bike and you start to pedal. Nothing happens for a second, and then it goes and it starts to go, and it like sort of, you could feel it kick in. Whereas a mid-drive motor, since it's right there in the cranks and you start pedaling, it's a lot smoother, and it sort of just feels like you, but you're sort of super you. So it's more like riding an actual bike. And for somebody who's not a super experienced bike rider, that's actually a little less scary, because this thing has the capability to go, they say 28 miles an hour. I got it up to about 25 miles an hour in the artist gear. I think that's probably more reasonable of a top speed. And if you're not pedaling hard, it's probably it's quite easy to pedal it and get it up to 20, 21 miles an hour. But if you're not an experienced cyclist, then that seems fast to you. But here's the good news. It has 5 levels of assist. So when you're just starting out, you can put it on level 1 assist, and it's gonna make you feel a lot safer, and you can get used to the bike. Before then, you get more advanced and you give yourself more assist. So the assist levels are sort of they give you a different amount of power, which also sort of affects your top speed. So like if you have it on, 1 through 3, you're probably not going to get much faster than maybe 17 miles an hour. Whereas the 4th and the 5th level of assist is going to get you over 20. And that's sort of how you use it. Now, one other cool thing about a mid-drive motor is that if you have a rear flat, you can take the wheel off easily, just like a regular bike. A hub motor bike, the hub is sort of connected and there's wires, and it's more complicated if you get a back tire flat. So that's cool if you use the bike a lot. Let me tell you about some of the cool features also. So this bike, it's got hydraulic disc brakes. So disc brakes are way more powerful than old school rim brakes. So they work better when it's wet. They work better on downhills. They have really good stopping power, and hydraulic brakes in particular are very powerful and reliable. So that is a great feature because you always want to be able to stop. Now, it's got good quality Shimano parts on here. This is an Altus rear derailleur and Shimano shifters as well. It's 8 speeds in the back and 2 in the front. So you've got lots of, you've got your small chain ring for going up a steep hill, or if you just want to pedal around slower, your big chain ring if you want to go faster, or you're on the flats. Plenty of gears for really any hill that you want to hit. Now, how much power does the motor have? It gives you 250 watts. Now, 250 watts is a good amount of power. Now, maybe you've seen there are other e-bikes that are like 500 watt e-bikes. Those, they really feel sort of jumpy and very powerful. And especially if you're not an experienced cyclist, it's a little bit scary to go that fast. And so I think 250 watts was just the right choice for this mid-drive motor, because it feels like riding a bike. It does not feel like riding an e-bike in the same, so I guess the other issue is that since the mid-drive motor is down here instead of back here, the bike is way more balanced. A hub drive motor e-bike has all the weight back here, and so the front end feels really lightweight and the back feels really heavy, and so it feels a little different. Whereas this feels like you have the weight like a regular bike, and so when you're maneuvering it at low speeds, it feels right. You've got a headlight in the front here. You've got fenders in the front and the back. Now, fenders are extremely useful with any kind of commuter bike. And the reason for this is when it rains, it's really not just the rain falling on you that makes you so wet and so filthy riding a bicycle. If you're riding a bicycle and you don't have fenders, then the tires are throwing up gross, dirty water from the street all over your clothes. And you'll end up with a big skunk stripe up your back when it rains if you don't have a rear fender. And you also often get a face full of grit every time you turn, and it's throwing gross, muddy water up in your face. And so it's so much more convenient to have these fenders, and I recommend them. You've got a headlight on the front of this bike, which is good because that helps you, if you're riding at dusk. It's not a super powerful headlight, but it's good enough to get home. And it's also good enough for cars to see you. In the back, it's got a reflector. It's not a light, it's just a reflector. But when the cars are shining their lights on it, they'll be able to see you. The pedals also have reflectors. Now, the bike comes with flat pedals which is great. And they've got these little things that stick out that sort of grab the bottom of your feet. So when you're riding, your feet stay on there and you feel confident. This bike comes in 2 different sizes. This one's a medium. You can buy a medium or a large. So the bike, the brand in general, from whether you're 5'4" is the lowest they recommend, to 6'4". But I'm about 5'8". This is a medium. I would say that this bike easily could work for somebody close to 6 feet. But once you get close to 6 feet and over, then you'd want to look at the large model instead. But the medium is pretty all-purpose for most people that aren't super tall. It's got a nice rack in the back, which I would say you could comfortably put probably 25, 30 pounds worth of stuff on the back of this rack. It's tubular. It's got, it's connected right here to the frame, and it seems pretty sturdy to me. It's easy to change the seat height. You've got an easy adjuster. And one of the cool features about this bike that I like a lot is that the battery is removable. So if you go someplace and you lock it up outside and you go inside, you can take the battery with you, and it's not an e-bike anymore. So it makes it much less appealing for somebody to steal, because this is sort of, it's the proprietary battery that fits right in there, right? So it's not like they can just go to Best Buy and buy another battery, and then it has to be this battery. So they're gonna see it and they're like, oh, it's an e-bike, but it's got no motor, so it's not as appealing to steal. But also it's a convenience issue. Like, let's say you store this in your garage, but you don't want to charge it out there. You can bring the battery in and charge it inside. Or if you take it to work, you can leave it locked up outside at work, and then you bring it up and charge it while you're at work, so you have a full charge to get all the way back home. Let's talk about range. Now, I gotta look at my notes here, because there's a lot of information about the motor. Okay, stop.